Hey, Caitlin. So, Per Scholas offers free IT training that leads to an industry recognized credentials, supportive services, financial support, and strong employer connections. And for all of those reasons, it has been lifted up as a model program in workforce development. And when I've had the privilege of talking with Per Scholas learners and alumni, I hear how life-changing their experience really is. And so, this is the 30th year anniversary for you all. It's also National Skills Coalition's 25th anniversary, and our organizations kind of came up together, right? Per Scholas was on the cutting edge of creating sectoral training at a time that National Skills Coalition was building a coalition, including of sectoral training providers, to shape policies that would support and scale the types of sectoral training that we were seeing having success in the field. Fast forward to all these decades later, you and I are having this conversation. And while there's still a lot of work to be done on the policy front, we've made significant progress in advocating for public policies that, support sectoral approaches, support affordability for students. And I'm hoping we can talk today about what policymakers should know about what makes model programs like Per Scholas work. So as they're thinking about supporting and scaling efforts like yours, they have that information in mind. So with all of that, let's talk a little bit about the sectoral approach. What does that look like? How do you make sure that your programs both stay tightly connected to industry's evolving needs, but also how does that alignment with industry really support your participants' career success?
Well, Brooke, a lot has changed over 30 years. Um, but I'll tell you one through line is that we can only help create that economic mobility that all of our learners are looking for if we really understand employers' needs and how they're evolving in real time. So
Mhm.
Per Scholas actually started out in life as the employer. That was how we started this workforce development work. And I think that's helped us inform this kind of dual customer model where we see our employers as just as valuable as customers as our
Mhm.
learners. I think one of the other things that's really helped us to evolve over time is that in the last 7 or 8 years, we really developed a line of customized training where we are working with a single employer, creating signature partnerships, and that gives us a depth of understanding of really what they need for specific roles that allows
Hmm.
us to both create programs that directly benefit those companies, but we also get that insight about what's happening in the industry more broadly. So, for example, 3 years ago, as we were starting to see this explosion of data centers, we worked in partnership with a company called Tech Systems to launch a brand new data center technician training track. And it was really because we had that partnership in place that we were
Mhm.
able to see kind of around the corner into this kind of demand that we wouldn't have otherwise known about. Organically, our learners could have ended up in those roles, but we wouldn't have been able to design something so specifically if we didn't have that customer insight.
Yeah, and so what I'm hearing you say, Caitlin, is that having that insight from employers also then allowed you to ensure that you were setting your learners up for making sure there was a good job with a career pathway directly connected to your training, which is something we hear from workers so much, right? They're pursuing training because they want to fulfill their aspirations, they want to create a better economic situation for themselves and their families. And so it's really important for that job and career to be directly connected to the training and to be provided at the end of the training. Is that something you hear from your learners?
Absolutely. All of our learners. I mean, when people come to us, it's because they're looking to launch a career. And so they are looking for both that skills. And I will say, one of the ways that we've been so successful is that we really integrate that technical skilling with the business professional skills, the expectations of a workplace that we understand from our employers are going to be the really distinguishing factors that they're looking
Mhm.
for in candidates. And so as we're preparing learners with a set of technical skills and competencies, we're also helping them to understand what is an employer going to be expecting on day one, and how are you going to demonstrate through an interview process that you have that full package. And again, we would only have that insight by getting constant feedback from our employers, both at the
Hmm.
individual level, literally, how is this person doing 6 months in, but also at the macro level. How are you looking at hiring and upskilling needs for your workforce into the next 6 months, the next year, the next 2 years? It's a constant communication with, for us, about 1,000 employers across the US.
Yeah, and looking at, some of your most recent outcomes and data, I saw that your learners are making 3 times on average what they were after participating in Per Scholas than prior to that. So there really is this earnings benefit, and they're staying at their jobs and growing in their jobs. And so that retention piece, that career pathways piece, career advancement piece is there both for learners and the employers. I mean, I think one of the other things, in addition to I want training to help me launch my career, to connect me to an employer where I can succeed and grow in my career. That's something we hear all the time. The other thing we hear is that a lot of adult learners are busy, their lives are busy and complex and full. And so oftentimes we hear that learners are looking for training that helps them build their skills in the matter of weeks, instead of just months or years. And what does that look like for Per Scholas? You all have done a lot of accelerated training, and this is a time where we're talking about expanding Workforce Pell, expanding grants to this accelerated training models. Want to hear what that looks like for Per Scholas and what lessons you all have learned about doing accelerated training.
Brooke, there is such exciting potential with Workforce Pell. One of the things that we've learned is that while people are dubious, everybody's skeptical, right? Can I really put my life on hold for 3 months to jumpstart into a new career? Is this really something that I can manage 7 hours
Mm-hmm.
a day, 5 days a week? And the thing that we've learned is that as long as we've really prepared people with the right expectations up front, as long as we layer on the financial coaching, the MSW navigators, the supports that people need to persist through this incredibly rigorous experience, the value of making that commitment, of jumping in and saying, I am going to entirely change my life, and I'm committed to this thing over 3 months, 4 months, is something that for people who are experiencing constant instability, that they can power through. It's fast enough that you can
Mm-hmm.
learn so much. You can adopt entirely new skills. When I talk to people who are on week 5, Brooke, I am telling you every single time, I'm talking to beleaguered people who are so exhausted and who are saying to me things like, I just don't know if I'm going to make it.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're going to make it. You're going to make it. And you know what they do? 85% of our learners graduate. That is
Mm-hmm.
nothing. I mean, that is so much higher than you find in any other higher ed setting. What they are able to learn in terms of hands-on skills over that time period is transformational.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we've found is that that's what helps jumpstart you into a new career. But it also helps our learners to reinforce, and our learners are not kids, right? Our median learner is 30 years old. They're
Right.
people who've been in the workforce. They're often people who really struggled in education previously. But one of the things that coming to Per Scholas really teaches folks is that lifelong learning is going to be part of their journey from here.
Mm-hmm.
And so we see not only that our learners start new careers, but they also start a new pathway of adding on new credentials. They come back to Per Scholas for our career accelerator short-term upskilling classes. And those classes pay off. We've seen now that learners who do just one of our career accelerator courses increase their earnings by 30% from their first job after Per Scholas.
Hmm.
That is an incredible jump. That's happening in less than 2 years. And it's showing us that we really are able to help people accelerate that career journey, often with the same employer. It's that they are demonstrating that they're acquiring new skills, acquiring new knowledge, and want to get ahead and move forward in their careers.
Yeah, so you're both tapping into people's aspirations for their careers, their persistence, their resilience. You also mentioned something really important, which is the level of financial support that you all provide and other types of career navigation and supportive services that you're providing, because we hear so much much from adult learners. Like, I am in this, I am ready to do this, I'm working on this, and then, somebody's car breaks down, or there's an emergency childcare need, or a bill comes through that interrupts the affordability of tuition, and that can really interrupt an entire training opportunity for someone. So, you all offer free high quality training. And I feel like when I've talked with Per Scholas' students, the fact that it's truly free and truly high quality is something they talk about time and time again. And that's just one aspect of affordability. What other supports are important to your learners, and what should policymakers know about investing in learners as whole people who have, families and lives and dreams?
Brooke, I think the most important thing for policymakers to know is that our learners are the most resilient, highly motivated, incredible people I have ever encountered. And I think what we do is really just to provide a bridge
Mm-hmm.
between their ambition and the reality that they are trying to seek. I think we provide wraparound services, and we try to ensure that we can be there to help catch when those emergencies happen. Part of what we've been able to do over the last couple of years in partnership with the Google Career Certificate Fund and social finance is to offer our learners a 0% interest rate loan that is provided by social finance and partnership with Per Scholas. And that enables our learners to optionally support themselves while they are at Per Scholas. So that's one financial mechanism. And that's been really exciting for us. It's been able to open the doors to people who really couldn't figure out how to otherwise afford to take a full-time free training. But it's also had really strong associations with graduation rates, persistence rates, enabled people to spend more time studying and less time working through the night. We also ensure that all of our learners have access to MSW credentialed social workers and to financial coaches throughout the time that they're at Per Scholas, but also as alums when they start earning and when they can start thinking about applying some of those budgeting and investment pieces to practice.
Mm-hmm.
I think as I think about what are the policy implications for what we've learned here, what we can see is that when you can support people in a way that allows them to make investments in their human capital, they do it.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Right? If we can cover childcare, if we can cover transportation, the numbers of people who can come in to this kind of an experience doubles, triples rapidly.
Yeah.
And when we have seen times of greater investment in families who need to access this kind of support, we see the floodgates open and the demand for our programming skyrocket. And so I think we know that when people actually have the support, they want to take that leap. They want to invest in their own human capital and their own skilling. The question, of course, is always just whether they're sufficiently supported to be able to do it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Caitlin. And I really appreciate the points you've elevated about continuing to support your alumni, having folks come back, because we are in a world of, economic transformation where that lifelong learning is going to just be continuous for all of us. And so the fact that you all are building that into your model from the front and thinking about ways to support people on that journey is really important. And I think policymakers can take note of it. So appreciate everything you do. Appreciate your taking time to talk with me today. This was a great conversation.
Appreciate you, Brooke.